A hostage-taker stormed into a crowded ER and chose the quietest nurse as his shield, thinking her trembling hands meant weakness. Doctors froze, patients cried, and the man with the gun believed he controlled every breath in the room. But when a child began choking and the weapon pressed against her skull, Evelyn Carter stopped hiding the part of herself she had buried for years. The hostage-taker had taken the wrong nurse, and before the night ended, Mercy Point Medical would understand why some badges are never truly silent. Welcome to Silent Badges Stories. If you believe quiet people often carry the strongest stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment where you are listening from. Let's see how far this story travels. Put the gun against her head. The order came from a man with blood on his sleeve and panic in his eyes. The emergency room stopped breathing. Nurse Evelyn Carter stood at the center of Mercy Point Medical's trauma corridor with one arm locked across her throat. The steel barrel of a pistol pressed just below her right ear. A half-filled syringe rolled across the floor near her shoe. Somewhere behind her, a woman whispered a prayer and then went silent. Evelyn did not move, not because she was frozen, because stillness saved lives. The man holding her had come through the ambulance bay doors 7 minutes earlier, wearing a stolen security jacket, a fake limp, and a story about looking for his brother. His name, according to the police radio crackling at the charge desk, was Nolan Vance. Armed robbery, assault, carjacking. One dead clerk at a pharmacy 2 miles east. Now he had a nurse. He had 30 patients. He had frightened interns, nurses, 3 useless security guards, and 1 senior surgeon who had backed behind a medication cart as if plastic drawers could stop a bullet. Dr. Preston Vale stood there in his pressed white coat, face drained of color. 10 minutes ago he had called Evelyn a walking liability. Now he would not meet her eyes. Vance dragged her backward toward Trauma Bay 2. "Everybody stays where they are," he shouted. "Phones down. Hands where I can see them." A phone clattered to the floor. A baby cried. A monitor beeped too fast. Evelyn's badge swung against her chest. Evelyn Carter, RN. Bright, vivid blue scrubs, scuffed white shoes, light brown hair in a messy, low bun, gray-blue eyes that patients usually described as kind until something serious happened. Then they became impossible to read. Vance tightened his arm. "You, doctor." Vale flinched. "Me? Open that door." "The one in the back." "That is a restricted medication room," Vale said. Vance shoved the gun harder against Evelyn's head. "Then restrict it less." Vale looked at Evelyn. For half a second, she saw his entire soul. Not guilt. Calculation. If he opened the door, he might be blamed. If he refused, she might die. He was weighing liability while a weapon pressed into her skull. Evelyn spoke for the first time. "Open it, Dr. Vale." Her voice was quiet. Vale blinked. "You do not give orders here." Vance barked a laugh against her ear. "Lady, I got news for him. You kind of do right now." Evelyn's eyes stayed on Vale. "Open the door." The surgeon swallowed. His hand shook as he punched in the access code. Wrong code. The lock flashed red. Vance jerked Evelyn backward. "Are you playing with me?" "No," Vale stammered. "I was nervous." "Try again." Evelyn's left hand hung loose at her side. Open fingers. No tension. She could feel Vance's pulse through the forearm clamped across her throat. Too fast. Untrained grip. Right-handed. Weight favoring left leg. Weapon angled inward, not straight. His finger on the trigger, not indexed along the frame. Dangerous because he was scared, not because he was skilled. The lock clicked. The medication room door opened. Vance started pulling her toward it. "Everybody back." "No," Evelyn said. The word landed like a dropped scalpel. Vance froze. "What?" "Not in there." His breath hit her cheek. Sour coffee. Copper. Fear. "You telling me no? The room has one door and no sight line to the ambulance bay. If you trap yourself there, police contain you. Then you panic, then someone dies." Even Vale stared. Vance's grip shifted. You think you're smart? I think you want to leave alive. The gun nudged her skull. You know what I want? A vehicle, distance, maybe something for the bleeding on your arm. You also want people to stop looking at you, like you are already dead. His breathing changed, a tiny hesitation, the first crack. A child coughed from Bay 4. Evelyn heard it through the stillness. Not a normal cough, wet, narrow, struggling. Her eyes moved. A boy, maybe 8 years old, sat upright on a gurney with his mother beside him. He had come in earlier for an allergic reaction after eating something at school. Mild swelling, rash, wheezing. Evelyn had flagged him for close observation. Vale had waved it off. Kids wheeze, he had said. Stop dramatizing triage. Now the boy's lips were turning blue. His mother looked around wildly. Help him, she whispered. Nobody moved. Vance shouted, I said nobody moves. The boy coughed again. Then he stopped making sound. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. Airway closing. Seconds mattered. She turned her head 1 inch. Vance felt it and jerked her back. What did I say? That boy cannot breathe. Not my problem. It will be if he dies in front of you. I said not my problem. Evelyn's voice dropped. Then make it mine. Vance laughed once. What? Let me treat him. No. He needs epinephrine. Then airway support. I don't care. Yes, you do. The gun pressed harder. You don't know me. I know you did not come here to kill a child. His face twitched. A murmur moved through the ER. Vale whispered, Evelyn, stop provoking him. She did not look at Vale. Dr. Vale, you missed the anaphylaxis progression, so stay quiet unless you plan to help. His mouth opened. No words came out. The boy's mother sobbed. Please. Vance looked at the boy, then at the doors, then at Evelyn. You try anything, I shoot you. No, Evelyn said. If I try anything, you will feel it before you can shoot. The room went dead. Vance blinked. What did you say? Evelyn let the silence sit for 1 beat too long, then softened her voice. I said I will move slowly. Vance studied her. Maybe he heard the other meaning. Maybe he did not. He dragged her toward Bay 4, keeping her body between himself and everyone else. Bay 4 smelled of antiseptic and strawberry lip balm. The boy's mother had both hands on his shoulders. Caleb, she cried. Baby! Look at me. Caleb's eyes were wide and glassy. His chest pulled inward with each attempted breath. No air moving. Severe upper airway obstruction from swelling. The EpiPen sat unopened on the tray. Evelyn looked at the mother. Ma'am, step back 1 foot. The mother shook. Please save him. I will. Vance snorted. You sound real sure. Evelyn reached slowly for the EpiPen, because he is not dead yet. Evelyn removed the safety cap with her thumb, pressed the injector against Caleb's outer thigh. Click, held it. 1 second, 2, 3. Time? She asked. Nobody answered. Time. A young nurse named Marla jolted. 8:41. Mark it. Caleb still could not breathe. Evelyn reached for the airway kit. Vale stepped forward, then stopped when Vance swung the gun toward him. Back! Vale backed up fast. Evelyn opened the kit with 1 hand. She needed both. Vance's arm was still across her throat. Your grip is compromising my movement, she said. You think I care? The child does. Vance hesitated. Move your arm from my throat to my shoulder, Evelyn said. Keep the gun where it is. You still control the room. He adjusted. A mistake. A small one. Evelyn selected a pediatric airway adjunct. Caleb's swelling was worse now. Too tight. His oxygen saturation fell on the monitor. 78. 74. His mother made a broken sound. Doctor. Vale, Evelyn said. Prepare suction. Vale stared. Now. He fumbled toward the wall suction and dropped the tubing. Vance laughed. That your big doctor? Evelyn did not answer. Caleb's chest barely moved. 70. A line from a place she had buried rose inside her. Air goes first. Everything else waits. She looked at Marla. Crick tray. Marla froze. Vale snapped, "Absolutely not. He is a child. He is a child who is dying. You are a nurse." Evelyn's eyes cut to him. "And you are in my way." The ER seemed to shrink around those words. Vance looked amused now. "This is better than TV." Evelyn ignored him. "Marla, crick tray." Marla moved. Vale shook his head. "You do not have privileges to perform that. I have responsibility to keep him alive. You touch that child with a scalpel, and I will report you." Evelyn held Caleb's jaw, eyes locked on the boy's fading face. "Report me after he breathes." Marla placed the tray within reach. Vance shifted closer. His gun hovered near Evelyn's temple. "Careful, nurse." Evelyn looked at his reflection in the metal tray. 1 inch too close. Index finger tightening when stressed. Left elbow floating. Right knee unstable. She could end him in 2 movements. Still, not yet. Evelyn cleaned Caleb's neck with quick strokes. "Caleb, listen to me. You are going to feel pressure. Stay with your mom." "Bag." Marla handed it over. Evelyn ventilated. Once. Twice. The monitor climbed. 73. 79. 86. Caleb's chest rose. His mother collapsed against the bed rail, sobbing. Evelyn kept bagging. "Do not cry yet," she said softly. "He still needs you calm." The mother nodded through tears. 92. 95. A sound moved through the ER, not applause, not relief, shock. Vance's breathing changed behind her. "You some kind of army medic?" Evelyn secured the tube. "No." "Then what?" Before she could answer, the police loudspeaker boomed from outside. "Nolan Vance, this is Lieutenant Harris with Metro Police. We have the building surrounded. Release the hostage and come out with your hands visible," Vance snapped. The crack widened into a break. He grabbed Evelyn again and dragged her away from Caleb. The gun returned to her head. "Everybody back," he screamed. "Back, or I kill her." Caleb's mother reached for Evelyn. Evelyn shook her head once. "Do not." Marla took over bagging with trembling hands. Good. The boy had air. For now. Vance pulled Evelyn into the main corridor. Police lights flashed through the glass doors, red and blue washing across the white walls. He shouted toward the entrance. "I want a car, full tank, no trackers. You give me that or I start dropping bodies." Lieutenant Harris stood beyond the glass with a vest over his uniform and a phone pressed to his ear. His eyes found Evelyn. She gave him nothing. No panic. No plea. Only a steady stare. Vance dragged her away from the doors. "Why are you so calm?" Evelyn breathed through her nose. "Because you keep making mistakes." His face twisted. "What mistakes?" Vance stared. Everyone stared. Vale whispered, "Evelyn." This time, there was fear in his voice. Not for her. Of her. Vance shook her. "Who are you?" Evelyn's eyes lowered to the gun, then to his wrist, then back to his face. "You really should have asked that before you touched me." 7 hours before Nolan Vance put a gun to Evelyn Carter's head, Dr. Preston Vale had humiliated her in front of 26 people. It happened at 1:13 p.m., between a diabetic foot consult and a teenager with a dislocated shoulder. Vale liked an audience. He was 46, polished, and famous inside Mercy Point Medical for flawless hair and casual cruelty. His white coat was always clean. His shoes always shined. His smile appeared when administrators walked by and vanished when poor patients needed time. Evelyn had seen men like him before. Not doctors, commanders, contractors, officers. Men who mistook authority for competence because nobody had ever forced them to prove the difference. The trouble began with Louis Brenner, 71 years old, former Navy machinist, congestive heart failure, pneumonia, oxygen saturation drifting down despite nasal cannula. Evelyn noticed before the alarm did. People fighting for air moved. People losing the fight became quiet. She stepped into Bay 6 and found Brenner sitting too still. "Mr. Brenner, look at me." His eyes opened halfway. "Trying, sweetheart." His voice was thin. Oxygen saturation 87, respiratory rate 32, heart rate 126, skin clammy. Evelyn reached for the non-rebreather mask. Vale walked in with 3 residents behind him. "What are you doing?" "Escalating oxygen. I did not order that. He is tiring out. He is anxious. He is failing." Vale gave a small laugh for the residents. "In medicine, Ms. Carter, we avoid drama. Anxiety can mimic respiratory decline. If we react to every number like it is a battlefield, we create chaos." The word battlefield slid under Evelyn's skin. Not enough to show, just enough to wake something old. Brenner's hand tightened on the blanket. "Can't breathe." Evelyn placed the mask over his face. Vale stepped closer. "I said I did not order that." Evelyn kept her voice calm. "You can write the order now." One resident stared at the floor. Another pretended to study the chart. Vale's jaw hardened. "Remove it." "No." The word was quiet. It still carried. Vale's face flushed. "Excuse me?" "His saturation is 85 and falling. He needs oxygen now." "I am the attending physician." "He is the patient." The room tilted toward them. Vale smiled, but his eyes went cold. "Do you have a problem with authority, Ms. Carter?" Evelyn adjusted the seal. "No." "Really?" "Because you behave like someone who thinks rules do not apply to her." Brenner's oxygen rose to 91. Vale noticed. That made him angrier. He turned to the residents. "This is what happens when staff mistake instinct for training. Ms. Carter is a nurse. Nurses assist. They do not diagnose, command, or improvise because their feelings tell them a story." Evelyn looked up. My feelings did not turn him blue. A tiny sound escaped the youngest resident, almost a laugh. Vale heard it. His pride snapped. "You are one more incident from termination." Then Vale pointed at Evelyn. "My office. End of shift." He left with his white coat swinging behind him. Evelyn stayed with Brenner until his saturation held at 94. "You always this bossy?" he asked. "Yes." "Good. Navy liked bossy people." "So I have heard." Brenner squinted at her. "You serve?" Evelyn adjusted his blanket. "My father did." That was a lie. Her father had sold insurance in Ohio and believed the military was where people went when better plans failed. Brenner kept watching her. "Nah, you got the look." "What look?" "The look people get after they have seen young men die and still had to finish the job." Evelyn's hand paused on the rail, only for a fraction of a second. Brenner's voice softened. "Sorry. No need." "You ever want to talk, sweetheart? Old sailors are good listeners. Half-deaf, but good listeners." Evelyn almost smiled. "I will remember that." By 6:12 p.m., Vale summoned her. His office had glass walls and no warmth. A framed magazine profile hung behind his desk. Baltimore's surgical visionary. The photo showed Vale under operating lights with his arms crossed, as if he had personally invented medicine. He did not ask her to sit. Evelyn remained standing anyway. He folded his hands. "You embarrassed me today." "No, Mr. Brenner's oxygen saturation embarrassed your assessment." His face tightened. "Do you enjoy being difficult?" "I enjoy patients surviving." "You are not special, Ms. Carter." "I know. I do not think you do. I think you walk around this department with quiet contempt for everyone above you." Evelyn said nothing. Vale stood. "You think because you are calm during codes, people should admire you. But calm does not equal competence. Sometimes calm is just arrogance wearing a softer face." Evelyn looked at the magazine profile, then back at him. "You called me here to say that?" "I called you here to give you a formal warning." He slid a paper across the desk. "Insubordination. Failure to follow physician direction. Creating hostile clinical environment." Evelyn read it once. You wrote this before Mr. Brenner stabilized. Vale smiled. You assume the warning is about Brenner. It is not. It is about pattern. Evelyn placed the paper back on the desk. Your pattern or mine? His smile vanished. Sign it. No. You are refusing documentation? I am refusing false documentation. Vale leaned forward. Nurses like you come and go. You challenge everyone, collect little moral victories, then break. I have seen it for 20 years. The ones who think they know better always break. Evelyn held his stare. I do not break because men like you push paper. For the first time, Vale looked unsure. Then anger rushed in to cover it. You are suspended pending review. Evelyn felt the old quiet settle over her. The quiet before doors opened. The quiet before shots. Effective when? Immediately. We are short 6 nurses. Not my concern. That is the first honest thing you have said today. Vale pointed at the door. Badge on the desk. Evelyn unclipped her badge. She did not slam it down. She placed it gently. That frightened him more. She walked out into the ER. Marla saw the empty badge clip. What happened? Suspended. For Brenner? For pattern. That is ridiculous. Yes. What are you going to do? Evelyn looked toward Bay 6. Brenner slept with his oxygen mask in place. Go home. You cannot just leave. I can. But should you? That stopped her. Evelyn looked at Marla. Then the ambulance bay doors opened. Not unusual. They opened every few minutes. But this time no stretcher came through. A man in a security jacket did. He walked with a limp that did not match his hips. Left arm tucked too close, right hand inside his pocket, head scanning corners, cameras, exits. Evelyn saw blood on his sleeve. She saw the stolen badge clipped upside down. She saw the pharmacy bag under his jacket. She saw police lights flash past the ambulance bay window far behind him. Her body went cold. Marla followed her gaze. What? Evelyn's voice dropped. Call security quietly. Marla turned. Too fast. The man saw the movement. His eyes snapped to Evelyn. For 1 second, they recognized each other as threats. Then Nolan Vance pulled the gun from his pocket. The ER screamed. He fired once into the ceiling. Plaster dust fell like dirty snow. Everybody down! Patients dropped. Nurses ducked. Vale came out of his office just in time to see the gun and stumble backward. Evelyn did not drop. She stepped sideways, putting herself between Vance and Marla. Small movement. Huge consequence. Vance saw it. His gun swung toward her. You. Evelyn raised both hands. Easy. Come here. She could have moved then. A closing strike before he settled his aim. Maybe successful. Maybe not. Too many civilians behind him. Too many angles. So she walked toward him. Marla whispered, Evelyn, no. Evelyn did not look back. Vance grabbed her with his left arm and shoved the gun to her head. The grip was wrong. The stance was wrong. But the bullet would not care. Now! He shouted, dragging her backward. Everybody listen. The ER obeyed. That was how the hostage crisis began. Not with a tactical team. Not with a negotiation. With a suspended nurse in bright blue scrubs, an arrogant surgeon hiding behind a medication cart, and a desperate criminal who had no idea his hostage had survived rooms built for worse men than him. Back in the present, Nolan Vance stared at Evelyn after her warning. You really should have asked that before you touched me. The words hung between them. Police lights flashed through the glass doors. Caleb breathed through the tube in Bay 4. Marla bagged him with shaking hands but good rhythm. Vale stood near the locked medication room, face white. Vance tightened his grip. You trying to scare me? No. Liar. I am trying to keep you alive long enough to surrender. He laughed too loudly. I am not surrendering. Then you are planning to die. His jaw moved. The truth had touched him. He hated it. A radio squawked near the security desk. One of the handcuffed patients panicked and tried to bolt from Bay 8. His officer lunged to stop him. Metal clanged against the bed rail. Vance startled and fired. The shot cracked through the ER. Glass shattered. A nurse screamed. The bullet struck the wall inches from Brenner's bay. Louis Brenner jerked awake and grabbed his chest. His monitor screamed. Evelyn turned her head. Brenner's rhythm changed. Irregular, fast, too fast. The old sailor who had offered to listen now clutched at the blanket, eyes wide above the oxygen mask. "Mr. Brenner," Evelyn called. Vance dragged her back. "Shut up! He is going into a cardiac event." "I said shut up!" Brenner's monitor showed runs of ventricular tachycardia. Not sustained yet, but close. Vale saw it. So did Marla. Nobody moved. Evelyn's voice cut through the room. "Dr. Vale, treat him." Vale froze. "Dr. Vale." "I can't," he whispered. The words slipped out before pride stopped them. Everyone heard. Vance laughed. "Doctor can't, doctor." Evelyn looked at Vale. For one strange second, she did not feel anger, only clarity. He had built his life on being admired under safe lights. Danger had stripped him down to the man beneath the coat, and there was not much there. Brenner's rhythm worsened. Evelyn spoke to Vance. "Let me go to him." "No. He may die." "People die." "Not today." Vance pulled her close. "You keep talking like you decide that." Evelyn looked at the gun, then at Brenner, then at Caleb, then at the police outside. Her mind built the room in layers. Distance to weapon, 0. Distance to nearest cover, 4 feet. Civilians in line of fire, 7. Threat focus, fragmented. Right wrist, exposed. Left elbow, high. Muzzle, angled inward. Brenner, 30 seconds from sustained arrest. Caleb, airway secured but dependent on Marla. Police, waiting for a clean shot they did not have. No more time. Evelyn exhaled, slowly. The hidden part of her stopped asking permission. Her right hand came up and trapped his gun wrist against her own shoulder, pinning the muzzle away from the room. Her left elbow drove backward into the soft notch beneath his ribs. Short, brutal, efficient. Air burst from his lungs. His trigger finger clenched. The gun fired. The shot went into the ceiling. Evelyn rotated under his arm, stepped inside his balance, and slammed the heel of her palm into his wrist. The pistol dropped. She kicked it under the nurse's station. Vance grabbed at her hair. Wrong choice. Evelyn caught 2 of his fingers, rotated his hand outward, and dropped her weight through his elbow. He hit the floor face first so hard the whole ER felt it. The movement took less than 3 seconds. Then Evelyn had one knee between his shoulder blades. His ruined wrist pinned, and his other arm locked behind his back. Vance screamed, not in rage, in disbelief. The ER did not move. Nobody understood yet. A quiet nurse in bright blue scrubs had just dismantled an armed hostage-taker with cold precision. Evelyn looked up. "Marla, keep bagging Caleb." Marla jolted and obeyed. "Jimmy." The ER tech crawled from behind the desk. "Get the gun. Use a towel. Do not touch it with bare hands." Jimmy stared at Vance on the floor. "Jimmy. Right, yes, towel. Dr. Vale." Vale flinched. "Mr. Brenner is unstable. Move." Evelyn's voice hardened. "Move now or get out of the way." Police burst through the ambulance bay doors before Vale reached the curtain. Tactical officers flooded the corridor, weapons up, voices overlapping. "Hands! Show me your hands!" Evelyn stayed on Vance. "Suspect down. Weapon under nurse's station. 1 shot fired after disarm. No officer involvement. Hostage secure." The lead officer slowed. He looked from her to Vance to the gun now covered by a towel near Jimmy's foot. She rose slowly and stepped back with her hands visible. They cuffed Vance while he cursed into the floor. "You broke my wrist." Evelyn looked down at him. "You pointed a gun at a child." He stopped talking. Lieutenant Harris entered last, face tight. "You okay?" "No." The answer surprised him because she sounded calm. Evelyn pointed toward Bay 6. He is not. Brenner's monitor screamed. Vale stood over him, hands hovering uselessly. He is in sustained VTAC, Evelyn said. Pulse? Vale swallowed. I can't find one. Evelyn moved. Police shifted aside without being asked. Start compressions. Nobody moved. Now. Jimmy jumped in and began chest compressions. Evelyn checked the rhythm. Charge to 200. Marla yelled from Bay 4. Caleb is holding at 96. Good. Keep ventilation steady. Vale stood frozen. Evelyn snapped her fingers once. Dr. Vale, defibrillator. He looked at her as if he did not understand the word. Evelyn grabbed the pads herself. Clear. The shock hit Brenner's body. His back arched. The monitor scrambled. Still VTAC. Compressions. Jimmy resumed. Evelyn started an IV push, called meds, corrected the bag seal, and watched the rhythm like it was an enemy behind glass. Vale whispered, This is not possible. What? You were just a hostage? He nodded. Evelyn's eyes stayed on the monitor. People do not stop dying because I had a difficult minute. Another rhythm check. V-fib now. Charge to 200. The machine whined. Clear. Shock. Brenner's body jerked again. Flat chaos. Then a narrow complex. Another. Then organized rhythm. A pulse under Evelyn's fingers. Sinus tach, Marla called from across the room, voice shaking with relief. Evelyn kept her fingers at Brenner's neck. Blood pressure. 88/50. Fluids open. Prepare amiodarone infusion. Get cardiology now. And if Dr. Chen refuses, tell him I will come find him. Jimmy looked up, breathing hard. You good, Mr. B? Brenner's eyes fluttered. Behind the mask, he rasped, Did we win? Evelyn almost smiled. Not yet. Evelyn stood at the nurse's station, washing blood from her knuckles with an alcohol wipe. Not her blood. Mostly. Marla approached slowly. You are not just a nurse, are you? Evelyn reached for another wipe. I am a nurse. That is not what I asked. Before Evelyn could answer, Lieutenant Harris returned with a woman in a dark blue windbreaker. The letters on the windbreaker made several staff members whisper. FBI. The woman was late 40s, composed, with eyes that missed nothing. Evelyn Carter? Yes. I am Agent Denise Mallory. We need to speak privately. Vale appeared from nowhere, trying to recover his authority now that the bullets had stopped. Agent, I am Dr. Preston Vale, senior attending. Ms. Carter is currently under suspension pending disciplinary review. Any questioning should include hospital counsel. Mallory looked at him. Were you the physician who suspended the nurse who saved 2 patients and neutralized the shooter? Vale's mouth tightened. That is an oversimplification. It usually is. Mallory turned back to Evelyn. Privately. They used the small consultation room near radiology. Mallory closed the door. Your personnel file says Mercy Point for 7 months. Before that, urgent care in Annapolis. Before that, travel contracts. Before that, a gap. People have gaps, not like yours. The agent slid a tablet forward. On the screen was a redacted service record. Most lines were black. Enough remained. Carter, Evelyn M. Unit, Naval Special Warfare. Medical qualification. Special Operations Combat Medic. Status, medical retirement. Call sign, Rook. Evelyn looked at the file. Something inside her went very still. Mallory watched her carefully. Do you want to explain why a former Naval Special Warfare operator is working as an ER nurse under a standard civilian resume? No. At least you are direct. Am I under arrest? No? Then why are you here? Mallory leaned forward. Because Nolan Vance did not choose this hospital randomly. That shifted the room. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. Explain. Vance robbed a pharmacy tied to an investigation. Opioid diversion, stolen prescription pads, Falsified medical records.
His brother died here 3 weeks ago after an overdose. Vance blamed Mercy Point. Was the death preventable? That is one of our questions. Ask better ones. We are. Mallory tapped the tablet. Hospital records say his brother waited 4 hours for evaluation despite respiratory depression. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Who was attending?
Mallory looked at her. Preston Vale. The silence hardened. Outside, Vale's voice rose in the hallway. This is my department. That woman is unstable. You should have seen her. That was not nursing. That was violence. Then the consultation room door opened. A tall man stepped inside wearing civilian clothes and a face carved by years of classified grief. 42, 6'4", broad shoulders, close-cropped dark hair threaded with grey, short beard, scar across the left cheekbone. Evelyn knew him before he spoke. Captain Aaron Maddox, her former commander. The man who had once called her Rook over a radio while bullets chewed concrete around them. He looked at her bright blue scrubs, the blood on her sleeve, and the life she had tried to build from silence. Then he said, "Hello, Rook." Evelyn's hands curled at her sides. "I told them not to call me that. I am not them." Outside the room, the ER went quiet again. People were staring through the glass. Maddox looked past her toward Vale. "Doctor, you are speaking about a former naval special warfare operator and special operations combat medic. She has treated casualties underwater, under fire, in aircraft, on ships, and in places your hospital council would need clearance to spell." Vale went pale. Marla whispered, "You were a SEAL?" Evelyn closed her eyes for 1 second. The silent life was over. Mallory's phone buzzed. She checked the screen and her expression changed. "There is more." Evelyn opened her eyes. "What?" Mallory turned the tablet toward her. Evelyn looked at the ER, at Caleb's empty bay, at Brenner's distant monitor, at Marla, Jimmy, Harris, and every frightened face that had just learned the quiet nurse was not what she seemed. Then she clipped her badge back onto her bright blue scrubs. Her hands were steady. "What do they want?" Maddox looked toward the ambulance bay doors. "We do not know." Outside, another siren approached Mercy Point Medical. The sound rose. A warning. Evelyn Carter rolled her shoulders back and walked toward the doors before anyone asked her to. The silent badge was silent no longer. And whoever had come looking for her had just made their first mistake. The second siren did not stop at the ambulance bay. It screamed past the front doors, circled once, and died near the rear service entrance. Evelyn Carter heard the engine cut. Then doors opened. Not ambulance doors. Vehicle doors. Several of them. Captain Aaron Maddox moved beside her without being asked. His eyes went to the ceiling corners, then the exits, then the hallway mirrors. Same old Maddox. Never looked where everyone else looked first. "Back entrance," he said. "I heard." Agent Mallory was already on her phone. "Lock down all exterior doors, now." The hospital security officer near the nurses' station blinked. "We already locked the main entrance." Evelyn turned. "All exterior doors means all exterior doors." Her voice changed the room. No yelling, no panic, just command. The guard ran. Dr. Preston Vale stood 3 steps away, pale and furious, his phone still in his hand. "This is insane. You cannot give orders here." Evelyn did not look at him. "Marla, move ambulatory patients away from windows. Jimmy, clear hallway C. Harris, turn off the automatic doors to radiology. No one opens anything until federal agents identify themselves." Everyone moved. Vale did not. "I said you cannot give orders here." Evelyn finally faced him. "You can file a complaint after everyone is alive." A crash echoed from the far corridor. Metal against metal. Then someone screamed near supply. The ER froze again. Evelyn closed her eyes for half a breath. Distance, direction, echo. Rear service hallway, 2 corners away. She opened her eyes. "Mallory, your people." "No." Then Vance was not alone. Mallory's hand moved under her jacket. Maddox shook his head. Too many civilians. I know, Evelyn said. She stripped bloodied gloves from her hands and snapped on clean ones. Marla stared at her. You're going toward them? No, I'm moving everyone else away from them. That was the first lie Evelyn had told all night. A second crash. Closer. Jimmy appeared from hallway C, breathing hard. 2 men by sterile processing. Black hoodies. One has a gun. Maybe both. They're asking for Vance. Mallory's face tightened. His crew. Or someone cleaning up his mess, Maddox said. Evelyn looked toward Trauma Bay 2. Nolan Vance lay cuffed to the bed, sedated but alive, under the watch of a young police officer. Vance had taken the wrong nurse hostage. Now someone else had come for him. Not to save him. Evelyn could feel it. They had come to silence him. Where is Caleb? She asked. Marla pointed toward pediatric observation. With his mother. Brenner? Recovery. Intubated. Stable. Evelyn nodded. Those 2 names mattered. Caleb, the child who had stopped breathing while a gun was pressed against Evelyn's skull. Brenner, the old veteran whose airway almost closed during the hostage crisis. Alive. For now. Mallory, Evelyn said. Vance knows something. Yes. Enough to bring armed men into a hospital. Yes. Then he does not leave Trauma Bay 2. Vale gave a brittle laugh. You are protecting the man who held you hostage? Evelyn looked at him. I am protecting the truth he has not told yet. Another scream came from the service corridor. Then a male voice barked, Where is he? Evelyn picked up a metal IV pole beside the nurse's station. Maddox frowned. You have no weapon. Hospital is full of weapons. Mallory stepped in front of her. Federal agents are 3 minutes out. Patients are 10 seconds away. A small sneaker appeared beyond the pediatric curtain. Caleb. He had slipped out, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. His mother reached for him, but fear made her slow. One of the armed men rounded the corner. Black hoodie, surgical mask, pistol low at his thigh. His eyes found the child. Everything stopped. Evelyn moved, fast, low, silent. The man raised the gun. Maddox shouted, Down! Caleb froze. Evelyn did not. She slammed the IV pole into the man's wrist before the pistol fully came up. Bone cracked. The gun clattered across the tile. Her elbow drove into his throat, controlled, just enough to collapse his breath. Her knee took his leg. He hit the floor hard. Evelyn caught the back of his hoodie before his skull struck. Even then, even with him armed, she kept him alive. Caleb's mother dragged her son back, sobbing. Maddox kicked the pistol away. Mallory cuffed the man. The ER stared. Evelyn crouched beside the attacker. Who sent you? He gasped. Blood flecked his mask. Wrong nurse. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. What did you say? He smiled through pain. You were supposed to be gone. Maddox looked at her. Mallory did too. Evelyn felt the old cold spread under her ribs. Not fear, recognition. This was planned. Someone had expected Nolan Vance to create a scene. Someone had expected Mercy Point to blame the violent criminal. Someone had not expected Evelyn Carter to survive with answers. A gunshot cracked from Trauma Bay 2. People dropped behind counters. A monitor shrieked. The young officer shouted, Help! Evelyn ran. Inside Trauma Bay 2, the officer was on the floor, bleeding from the shoulder. Vance was awake, wild-eyed, cuffed to the bed by one wrist. The second intruder stood beside him with a pistol pressed against Vance's chest. He wore a black hoodie too, but his stance was cleaner. Trained, not desperate. Stop right there, he said. Evelyn stopped in the doorway. Maddox stopped behind her. Mallory angled left. The intruder saw it. Agent, move again, and I put 2 in him. Mallory froze. Vance looked at Evelyn like she was his only chance. Tell them, Evelyn said. Vance swallowed. They killed my brother. The intruder pressed the pistol harder into his chest. Shut up! Evelyn took one slow step into the room. The muzzle shifted toward her. Maddox's voice hardened. Do not point that at her. The intruder laughed. You people do not understand where you are standing. Evelyn looked at his shoes. Non-slip soles. Hospital issue. She looked at his sleeve. A small blue smear of disinfectant. Sterile processing compound. She looked at his badge clipped beneath the hoodie. Hospital staff, she said. The room changed. The man cursed. Evelyn kept her voice calm. Security, transport, pharmacy. Stop talking. Pharmacy, she said. His jaw twitched. That was enough. Your diversion chain needed Vance quiet. His brother died because he saw something. Vance came here for revenge, but you came here to erase him. The intruder's eyes sharpened. Pretty speech. No, just triage. Triage. I sort threats by urgency. His finger tightened. You think I am the threat? No, Evelyn said. You are the symptom. For half a second he processed that. Half a second was enough. Evelyn threw the detachable trauma light handle into his face. It struck his cheekbone. Mallory dove low. Maddox surged forward. The gun fired once. The round shattered a wall cabinet. Glass rained down. Evelyn closed the distance before he recovered. Her left hand trapped his wrist. Her right palm struck his elbow. The pistol fell. Maddox drove him into the wall. Mallory had cuffs on him before the broken glass stopped moving. Evelyn dropped beside the wounded officer. Pressure dressing. Now. Marla appeared with gauze before anyone called her. Her face was pale, but her hands worked. Evelyn packed the shoulder wound, checked pulse, checked breath, checked pupils. Through and through. No arterial spray. He lives. The officer blinked up at her. You saved him too? Evelyn looked at Vance. Not for him. Vance stared at the ceiling. They made us move pills, he whispered. My brother found the ledger. He said he was going to talk. Mallory moved closer. What ledger? In pharmacy cold storage. Behind the old vaccine refrigerator. Names. Doctors. Payments. Shipments. The cuffed pharmacy worker twisted against Maddox's grip. Liar. Vance looked at him with pure hatred. You killed Danny. The worker spat blood onto the tile. Danny killed himself with product. Evelyn stood slowly. The room seemed to draw back from her. She walked to the worker and crouched. You are going to stop speaking about dead brothers like inventory. He glared at her. You think your uniform scares me? Evelyn looked down at her bright blue scrubs, then at his eyes. This one should. Federal agents stormed the ER 90 seconds later. Too late for the fight, right on time for the consequences. They secured both attackers. They secured Vance. They sealed the pharmacy. They found the ledger exactly where Vance said it would be. Behind an old vaccine refrigerator with a broken temperature display and a yellow maintenance sticker dated 8 months earlier. Mallory opened the first page and stopped breathing for a moment. Names, dates, amounts, patient numbers, prescription codes, physician signatures. Near the bottom of page 3, one name appeared again and again. Dr. Preston Vale. Preston Vale tried to leave through the physician lounge. He made it 12 steps past the coffee machine before Jimmy blocked the door. Jimmy was not armed. He did not need to be. The big ER tech stood with his arms folded and the expression of a man who had watched enough cowardice for one night. Going somewhere, doctor? Vale lifted his chin. I am going to call hospital counsel. You passed 3 phones on the way. Move. No. Vale's face twisted. You are an orderly. I am an ER tech. You are in my way, and you are under federal investigation. Evelyn reached the lounge with Mallory and Maddox behind her. Vale saw them and changed tactics instantly. His voice softened. Nurse Carter, this is becoming dangerous for everyone. I understand emotions are high, but that ledger means nothing without context. Evelyn looked at him. You said I was unstable. I was concerned. You said what I did was violence. You injured a man. He had a gun on a child. Vale swallowed. Mallory held up an evidence bag. Inside was the ledger. Dr. Vale, we need to ask you some questions. I want counsel. You can have counsel. Then I am not saying another word. Maddox stepped closer. No one asked you to confess in the hallway. Vale looked at him with disgust. And who are you supposed to be? Someone who knows what courage looks like. Vale laughed bitterly. Spare me the military worship. Evelyn's eyes did not blink. This is not worship. It is memory. Vale pointed at her. You lied to this hospital. You let everyone believe you were a regular nurse. I am a regular nurse. You were a commando. I was both. That is impossible. No, Evelyn said. It was inconvenient for your ego. The words landed harder than a shout. For the first time all night, several staff members did not look away. Marla stood near the doorway, Harris behind her. 2 residents, 3 nurses, the housekeeper who had hidden 2 patients in a linen closet during the gunfire. They had all heard Vale humiliate Evelyn before. They had all seen what happened when the crisis came. Vale saw their faces. His power leaked out by inches. Mallory gestured toward the hall. Conference room. Vale straightened his coat. I will walk there myself. Good, Evelyn said. Try doing one useful thing tonight. He flinched as if she had slapped him. The ER slowly exhaled, but Evelyn did not. She returned to the floor. The wounded officer needed imaging. Vance needed monitoring. Caleb needed reassurance. Brenner needed ventilator checks. Patients still had chest pain, broken bones, fevers, fear. A hospital did not pause because evil had been identified. It only paused when people stopped doing the work. Evelyn refused to stop. She checked on Caleb first. The boy was safe with his mother, still clutching his stuffed dinosaur. When he asked if she was really a soldier, Evelyn answered only, I protected people. He handed her the dinosaur for luck. Evelyn accepted it like it mattered, because it did. Then she checked Brenner in recovery. The old veteran could not speak around the tube, but he squeezed her hand when she reminded him where he was, what day it was, and that his lungs were moving air. For a moment, Mercy Point was quiet enough to feel human again. Mallory waited near the monitors. We have enough to hold Vale. Good. He is asking for you. No. Mallory raised an eyebrow. No. He does not want me. He wants control. Let him sit without it. Mallory studied her. You have done this before. More than once. Mallory looked through the glass toward Brenner. The ledger is ugly. Vale signed off on controlled substances that never reached patients. Some were diverted. Some were billed twice. Some were linked to overdose deaths after hitting the street. Danny Vance. Yes. Was his death preventable? Mallory hesitated. That question just got worse. Evelyn waited. Danny came into Mercy Point with respiratory depression. Nurses flagged him as urgent. Vale downgraded him to observation. Records show he waited 1 hour before naloxone. Evelyn's face went still. 1 hour? Yes. That is not a mistake. No. That is a choice. And after he died, someone altered the chart. Vale? We think so. A sound came from Evelyn's throat. Not a sob, not a laugh. Controlled rage looking for a safe place to stand. Nolan Vance had done terrible things tonight. He had threatened patients. He had put a gun against Evelyn's head. But his pain had not come from nowhere. A hospital had failed his brother. A doctor had covered it. A criminal chain had profited from it. And everyone had called the grieving man the only monster in the room. Evelyn walked to the conference room. Vale sat at the table with 2 agents across from him. His face changed when Evelyn entered. Relief first, then fear, then arrogance trying to stand upright. I knew you would come. Evelyn remained near the door. Do not flatter yourself. Vale leaned forward. You need to understand the pressure this department is under. Staffing shortages, administrative demands, patients lying for narcotics, families threatening lawsuits. You think one bad ledger tells the whole story? No, exactly. It tells the part you wrote down. Vale's mouth tightened. I did what every physician in this country has to do to survive. Evelyn took one step forward. Do not call death a compromise. Vale looked away. Danny Vance was an addict. Evelyn's hand hit the table. Not hard enough to break it, hard enough to end the sentence. He was a patient. Vale froze. He came here unable to breathe. Your nurses flagged him. You ignored them. Then you changed the chart after he died. His face drained. Mallory's eyes narrowed. That had not been in the question. Vale had reacted before denying. The agents saw it. Everyone saw it. Evelyn lowered her voice. You treated the poor like liabilities, veterans like billing codes, nurses like furniture, addicts like trash. And when people died, you called it pressure. Vale whispered, You have no idea what I carry. Evelyn leaned closer. You carry signatures. You carry bonuses. You carry lies. Silence. You carry the sound of nurses telling you something was wrong while you looked past them. Vale's eyes were wet now. Not remorse. Self-pity. Evelyn knew the difference. I saved lives for men who made mistakes, she said. I saved lives for enemies. I saved lives for people who would never thank me, because the job was never to decide who deserved air. The room went very still. That is what you forgot. Vale's chin trembled. I want a lawyer. Mallory stood. You will get one. Evelyn turned to leave. Vale spoke behind her. Carter. She stopped. You think they will love you now? They will not. They will use you. They will put your face on the news, call you a hero, and drag your past into every room. Then when the noise fades, they will still see you as dangerous. Evelyn looked back. Maybe. That does not scare you? It does. Then why keep going? Evelyn opened the door. Because fear is not an order. She walked out. In the hallway, Marla was crying. Jimmy wiped his face and pretended he had allergies. Harris looked at Evelyn like he had just learned what a spine was for. Maddox handed the dinosaur back. Secure. Evelyn took it. Thank you, Captain. Any time, Rook? She looked at him. Evelyn. Maddox nodded once. Evelyn. That was the first gift he gave her that night. Her name without the war attached to it. At 4:12 a.m., the hospital administrator arrived. Diane Rowe came with 2 lawyers and 1 public relations officer. She had a polished gray bob, a navy blazer, and the face of a woman who spoke in risk language even when lives were bleeding on tile. She stopped in front of Evelyn. Nurse Carter, we need to discuss your actions tonight. Maddox stepped forward. Evelyn raised one hand. He stopped. Rowe noticed that. Everyone did. My actions are documented, Evelyn said. Yes, that is exactly the issue. Marla made a sound of disbelief. Rowe ignored her. A hostage crisis, multiple assaults, unauthorized tactical engagement, federal involvement, and now allegations against Dr. Vale. This hospital is facing severe exposure. Evelyn looked at the PR officer. He avoided her eyes. Patients are alive, Evelyn said. Thanks to her, Jimmy added. Rowe's mouth tightened. No one is disputing that patients survived. That is an interesting way to say thank you, Maddox said. One lawyer cleared his throat. We advise everyone to avoid inflammatory language. Evelyn looked at him. People were shot at. Yes, but language matters. So do bullets. The ER went quiet enough to hear a monitor beep 3 rooms away. Rowe inhaled slowly. Nurse Carter, until we complete an internal review, we are placing you on administrative leave. Marla said, What? Jimmy stepped forward. No way. Harris looked stunned. Mallory's face hardened. Maddox laughed once. It was not amused. Evelyn did not move. Rowe continued, more carefully now. This is standard procedure. No, Evelyn said. It is. No. Standard procedure is what institutions call cowardice when they need paperwork to hide behind. Rose's eyes flashed. You are exhausted and emotional. Evelyn unclipped her badge. For one terrible second, Marla thought she was giving up. Instead, Evelyn held it between two fingers. This badge was silent for a long time. I wore it. I did the work. I took insults from doctors who thought compassion made nurses weak. I kept my head down because I wanted a normal life. She set the badge on the counter. But tonight a child breathed because I did not wait for permission. A veteran lived because nurses saw what doctors ignored. A police officer will go home because people moved when told. A criminal network was exposed because a desperate man failed to kill the truth. Rose swallowed. Evelyn's voice stayed low. You can suspend me if you want. But you will do it in front of every patient I protected. Every staff member you failed to protect. And every federal agent currently holding your pharmacy records. Mallory stepped beside her. For clarity, Mercy Point Medical is now part of an active federal investigation. Maddox folded his arms. Also, for clarity, if you retaliate against her tonight, I will personally make sure every veterans organization in the country knows Mercy Point punished the nurse who stopped a hostage crisis. Rowe looked around, at the staff, at the agents, at the blood still drying near Trauma Bay 2, at Evelyn's badge on the counter. Her calculation changed. Temporary review, Rowe said. No leave at this time. Evelyn picked up her badge and clipped it back onto her bright blue scrubs. Good choice. Rowe's face hardened. This is not over. No, Evelyn said. It is finally starting. By sunrise, Mercy Point Medical looked like two hospitals occupying the same building. One was official, lawyers in conference rooms. Administrators whispering near elevators. Federal agents carrying sealed evidence boxes from pharmacy. A public relations officer drafting statements with words like incident, isolated, and cooperation. The other hospital was real. Nurses changing IV bags. Techs cleaning blood from tile. Doctors checking scans. A mother sleeping upright beside her son. A veteran breathing through a tube while someone held his hand. Evelyn chose the real one. She moved through the ER until every patient from the crisis had a plan. The wounded officer went to surgery and came out stable. Brenner was cleared for extubation after the swelling improved. Caleb was discharged with instructions, a follow-up appointment, and his dinosaur returned with formal seriousness. Nolan Vance was transferred under federal guard to a secure medical unit. Before they moved him, he asked to see Evelyn. Mallory did not like it. Maddox liked it less. Evelyn went anyway. Vance sat upright in the bed, one wrist cuffed, face bruised, eyes hollow. The violent man from midnight was gone. What remained was grief with a body around it. You should hate me, he said. Evelyn stood 3 feet from the bed. I do not have time to hate you. I put a gun to your head. Yes. I almost got that kid killed. Yes. His mouth trembled. I just wanted someone to say Danny mattered. Evelyn looked at him for a long moment. He mattered. Vance broke, not loudly. His face folded inward, and tears ran into the bruises along his jaw. They called him an addict, like that explained everything. It explained his illness, Evelyn said. Not their neglect. He wiped his face with his free hand. What happens to me? You face what you did. He nodded. I figured. And you tell the truth. I will. Not to save yourself. He looked up. To save the next Danny. Vance closed his eyes. Yeah. Evelyn turned to leave. His voice stopped her. Nurse Carter. She looked back. You could have killed me. Yes. Why didn't you? Evelyn thought of dark water, gunfire, and a young man she had not reached in time. Because being capable of harm does not make harm the answer. Vance stared at her. Federal officers wheeled him away 5 minutes later. At 8:30 a.m., Diane Rowe called an emergency staff meeting in the auditorium. Doctors, nurses, techs, guards, housekeeping, federal agents, and exhausted families filled the rows. Rowe tried to begin with polished language about an isolated incident, but the room would not let her hide behind phrases. Finally, she looked at Evelyn and told the truth. Mercy Point had failed its staff. Mercy Point had failed its patients. And Nurse Evelyn Carter had protected both when the institution hesitated. Rowe apologized publicly, then announced a new crisis response and patient safety review led by Evelyn, with full protection for any employee cooperating with federal investigators. Caleb's mother stood first and clapped. Then Jimmy. Then Marla. Then Harris. Then the room. Evelyn let the applause exist, not because she needed praise, but because every quiet badge in that hospital needed to hear it. After the meeting, Mallory intercepted her near the cafeteria. "We will need your statement." "I know." "Your service record may become part of the investigation." "I know." "Some of it may become public." Evelyn looked into her coffee. The surface trembled once, then steadied. "I know. Are you ready for that?" "No." Mallory waited. Evelyn took another drink. "But I am done letting fear make decisions for me." Mallory nodded. "That is not a bad place to start." 2 weeks later, Mercy Point Medical looked different, not prettier. Hospitals rarely change that fast. The walls were still beige, the coffee was still terrible, the fluorescent lights still made everyone look half dead. But the people moved differently. Nurses spoke up. Doctors listened faster. Security drilled lockdown routes twice a week. Pharmacy had new oversight, new locks, new audits. And 3 federal monitors who looked like they had never laughed in their lives. Preston Vale's name disappeared from the physician board. His framed awards came down. No ceremony, no speeches, just empty space where arrogance used to hang. Nolan Vance agreed to testify. His charges remained serious, but his information widened the case. The diversion ring reached 2 clinics, a pharmacy supplier, and 3 physicians who had mistaken poor patients for profit. Danny Vance's death was reopened. So were 5 others. Families got phone calls no family should receive. Painful truth arrived late, but it arrived. Brenner was discharged on a rainy Tuesday. He refused a wheelchair until Marla threatened to chart him as non-compliant and embarrassing. He accepted the chair. Evelyn walked beside him to the exit. His voice was gravel now, sore from the tube, but strong enough. "You talked me back. You were always here." "No." He looked at her. "I was halfway somewhere else. You brought me back." Evelyn pushed the wheelchair slowly. His daughter waited by the doors. Brenner touched Evelyn's wrist. "I saw your face on the news." She almost winced. He noticed. "You looked angry." "I was." "Good. Anger is useful if you make it carry something." Evelyn smiled faintly. "That sounds like experience. Vietnam. That would do it." Brenner squeezed her hand. "Do not let them make you smaller now that they know you are big." Evelyn had no answer, so she only nodded. Caleb sent a drawing 1 week later. It showed a woman in blue scrubs holding a dinosaur in one hand and blocking a giant shadow with the other. Above her head, in crooked letters, he had written, "Nurse Hero." Evelyn pinned it inside the staff break room, not her office. When Marla asked why, Evelyn said, "Because that is where tired people need it." A month after the hostage crisis, the board made the new program official, Silent Badges Initiative. Evelyn hated the name at first, then understood it. Silent did not mean weak. Sometimes silence meant endurance. Sometimes it meant waiting until the truth could carry farther. In the first training session, she stood before the whole hospital in bright blue scrubs and asked one question. "What is the first rule in a crisis?" After a few wrong guesses, she answered it herself. "Tell the truth fast. If a patient is worse, say it. If a doctor is wrong, say it. If a door is unsecured, say it. Fear hidden becomes panic. Truth spoken becomes action. Then she gave them the line Mercy Point would repeat for years. Titles do not save lives. People do. After the session, Maddox found Evelyn in the hallway. "You were good," he said. Evelyn looked toward the ER doors. "I was necessary." He nodded. This time he did not call her Rook. He only said, "Evelyn." That was enough. 6 months later, Mercy Point's emergency department had fewer errors, faster response times, and a new reputation that made administrators uncomfortable for all the right reasons. Preston Vale pled guilty. Nolan Vance testified. Danny Vance's death was reopened, and 5 other families finally received the truth they had been denied. Near midnight, a new nurse found her restocking trauma supplies. The nurse was young, nervous, and trying too hard not to show it. "Can I ask you something?" Evelyn placed gauze in the drawer. "Yes." "Is it true?" "That depends." "That you were special operations?" Evelyn closed the drawer. "Yes," the young nurse swallowed. "And now you're here?" "Yes." "Why?" Evelyn looked through the glass toward the ER, a father holding his daughter's hand, a veteran laughing with Jimmy, Marla scolding a resident into checking a patient twice, security walking the doors, the coffee machine humming like a tiny miracle. Because this is where people come when their worst day gets too heavy to carry alone. The young nurse looked down at her own badge. "I'm scared I won't be good enough." Evelyn's expression softened. "Good." The nurse blinked. "Good?" "Fear means you understand the weight. Pride is more dangerous. What if I freeze? Then you breathe. You tell the truth. You ask for help. And you move." The young nurse nodded slowly. "Does it get easier?" "No." Evelyn picked up a stack of blue gloves. "But you get steadier." A radio crackled. "Ambulance incoming. Multiple injuries. 5 minutes out." The young nurse went pale. Evelyn handed her gloves. "First lesson starts now." They walked toward the ambulance bay together. The doors opened to red lights washing across wet pavement. Sirens rose. People turned. The ER shifted into motion. Evelyn Carter stood at the center of it in bright blue scrubs, badge clipped steady over her heart, scars visible under fluorescent light. Not hidden. Not exposed for spectacle. Simply present. The hostage-taker had chosen the wrong nurse because he thought quiet meant weak. Preston Vale had dismissed the wrong nurse because he thought rank meant worth. Mercy Point had nearly lost itself because it forgot that courage often wears soft shoes and carries a chart. But the truth had survived. A child breathed. A veteran went home. A corrupt doctor fell. A grieving brother told the truth. A hospital learned to listen. And Evelyn learned that peace was not the absence of battle. Sometimes peace was standing in the place you chose, with the people you protected, refusing to disappear again. The ambulance doors burst open. Paramedics shouted vitals. The young nurse looked at Evelyn. Evelyn nodded once. "Tell the truth fast." The nurse swallowed, then stepped forward. "Trauma Bay 1 is ready." Evelyn smiled, small, proud. Then she moved with the team. Not as a ghost from a classified past, not as a weapon waiting to be used. As a nurse. As a protector. As a woman who had finally understood that a silent badge